Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Joe at Kaskaskia College in Illinois. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you for having me on. It's good to be on part of your podcast here.
Yeah, thank you. And of course, as has happened over the last few years of me doing this, I'm running into a player that I coached against.
hmm
I
Yeah.
won't say, unfortunately, I think you beat me, but we won't talk about that. But that's all right. Well, you and I are talking here. It's mid-May. You know, as a junior college program, what where are you at in your recruiting class, come mid-May? Are you still trying to put together those last few pieces, or are you done and dusted and locked up for your recruiting class?
So we have one more partial scholarship available. All of our full scholarships we've filled up. I always shoot for early spring is kind of the goal. In Illinois, the high school season's in the spring. So um, by the time they start playing, we're pretty much done. A lot of, kind of start the recruiting process in the summer going into their senior year with most of them, kind of heavy on the visits there through um, kind of the summer. The fall is a little more difficult because we're obviously in season, and then do a lot over the Christmas break time frame, and then wrap most of it up by early spring. But like I said, we have one spot we could still fill.
Okay. Now, how many do you look to have on your roster come fall?
So we like to have 18 to 20 would be ideal. Um, minimum, we've had as low as 16, we've had as many as 20. So somewhere in that range is where we want to be at. We don't carry a huge roster, but with recruiting purposes, I think that's kind of a appeal to our program. The players that are on our team, since we don't have a lot of players, they're all going to be able to contribute and help us win games.
Okay. Now, one, I guess, different thing about your roster, at least from what I can see, is from a JUCO perspective, is I don't see any international on there. Do you guys not
Correct. Yeah,
not recruiting internationally?
no, we don't. We keep it. Most of our players are, the most I would say 3 hours away. Um, we're in a decent setup. Just our proximity to St. Louis. We're only 60 miles from St. Louis. And we that's just kind of been our philosophy. I've been here for 17 years, and we've kept it relatively local. We also don't go to Texas or Florida or California, that kind of thing either. We keep it all, Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Kentucky, that kind of stuff is where our roster's from.
Well, and I guess that makes it probably easier to choose what events you go to. So what are some of those events that you like to see players at?
Yeah, I mean, there's several in the St. Louis area. I don't go to a ton of events. I mean, I do some. My assistant coach is a head high school coach. So in Illinois, we're in the fall, they're in the spring. So she does a lot of recruiting, just teams that she's playing, that kind of thing. And with online recruiting, and with the videos and all that kind of thing that are sent out. I don't do a ton of big events, but there's some down here in Southern Illinois. There's a big the Frailish Cup, which is teams from Illinois, Missouri, um, and also Chicago area come down. So I always try to make that one every year if possible.
Okay. What about ID camps? Do you guys host any? Do you or your staff work any? Are they part of your process at all?
We do. I've been to a few ID camps. We don't host them here. Our summer camp structure here at the college is primarily youth oriented. So we do a lot of K through 8 different camps, things like that. But we don't host. We have done them in the past, but last few years we have not done an ID camp.
All right. Well, when it comes to recruiting, kind of what makes up that hierarchy of things you're looking for in a player, both on and off the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing you're looking for is I think maybe a trait or two that really pops. I mean, obviously you want to be an all-around player, but you're looking for that one big thing to make them stand out. We like to recruit from programs that are used to winning. I think that's important, to have that mindset. Um, and then a lot of our recruiting, as you can see on our roster is, um, you know, same high school year after year, are competing high schools year after year. I'm a big believer in recruiting kind of through our current players. I think that you have coaches every coach has the best player ever for you to recruit. But if you actually go through your current players, I think they're, at least on our team, they're very blunt. They're to the point. They'll tell me who the players that can contribute here and those who can't, and those who are, good team players and this and that. So I actually use them as a big part of our recruiting. I just, trust their opinion, and that's kind of what we look for, But again, the big stress I would say is players that are used to winning, players that have a desire to win um, from their club or high school. That's the big attribute we're looking for.
Okay, I love it. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school. You've been there 17 years, so you got
Yeah.
a good handle on it, I think. So
Yeah.
tell us, what are some of the awesome things about the school? Maybe some things we wouldn't know just by going through the website.
I think, most recently the big thing is we really revamped our campus. So our two main buildings where majority of our classes are held, we pretty much, I mean, it looks the same from the outside. If you were to drive up to the campus, it looks the same as it has been since I've been here. But once you go into the buildings, we've completely redone everything. In fact, this room I'm sitting in didn't exist 6 months ago. So we've really, as far as the classrooms, the technology upgrades, just the complete I would say the openness for potential students. Like these rooms we've created here to make it easier for the students to meet with, coaches, financial aid people, academic advisors. Um, just a complete revamp of our campus. And then we're also building on the backside of campus our new gymnasium, training room, coaches' offices, and that's all supposed to be done with by next October. So the campus itself, I mean, for a school of our type, our facilities are definitely, I would say, in the top 20 to 25% of junior colleges. And then the other thing, our location is good. We're obviously not in St. Louis, but we're, an hour to get there. We went to a city game last week with the girls, and I mean, it's I think an hour, 5 minutes to the stadium from our campus. So if you want to do all the St. Louis, big city stuff, you can do that, and also be in a smaller community as well.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you know players, recruits look at, especially when they're choosing a junior college route, is the potential to move on and potentially
Right.
play at four-year schools. So, kind of what success have you had there with your players? Is that something they look to do, or what do players do when their time is done?
I mean, it depends on the player. I mean, I think I think junior college kids get a little bit spoiled with just the amount they have to pay. It's very minimal here. I mean, if you're a um, commuting student, you're just paying gas to be here. That's all you're paying. And if you're one that stays here, you're just paying for the housing piece. Everything else is, covered. So, um, but yeah, we've had great success. We've sent players to all different divisions, um, from Division 1 schools all the way through Division 3 and everything in between. Um, we sent a lot of our players, our Division 2 NAIA kids are the majority. But yeah, I mean, it's just developing those relationships, sitting down with the players as really they're heading into their sophomore year. Um, and kind of see where they're at. I think that's the big key, is just seeing where they're at, what they want to do. And then, we also changed our academic advising for athletics. We have a woman that works strictly with athletics. So she's another piece of that, making sure those academic connections are there. But we put, I don't know, 50, 60 players on, I think around 50 to four-year schools. We've had great success with that for those girls that want to go on and play.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, let's rewind it back to that fall season.
Yeah.
Kind of walk me through what does a typical week look like for a player in terms of winter classes, practices, games, all meals, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we try to get most of our student athletes done with classes 2:15, 2:30. It's just kind of, I think 2:15 is where that block ends. We do have, some that do have clinical work. Healthcare majors are huge for us at our college and just in general with female athletes. So, the nursing, the physical therapy, the radiology, that kind of stuff, those are big majors for us. So we do have to it's one of those things you gotta be flexible with. Um, they're lucky to go to clinicals at different hospitals and things like that. But we train from 3:45 to 5:30 ish. Um, we try to play twice a week, usually, ideally a Wednesday, Saturday setup. Um, and then we also have mandatory study tables for our freshman student athletes. Um, it's kind of a reward system we have. If their GPA is really high after that, we kind of exempt them. But all the freshmen have to go initially, and in our academic center for excellence. So it's a busy workload for sure, but we also want to balance it. I think one of the things I've learned in my 17 years of coaching is you want to have a balance too. It can't be soccer 24/7. They got to be able to have a social life and obviously time for their academics too. So we try to keep a healthy balance. You don't want to burn them out, but you also want to make sure you prepare to hopefully win some games.
Yeah, that's that keeps them more interested when they get to win a few games,
Yes, definitely keeps them. Yes, but yeah, I mean, they have a lot going on. I mean, this generation has a lot of stuff going on through their phones, if nothing else. So you got to make sure they have time for that too.
For sure. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the soccer side of things. Um, you mentioned it a little bit, but talk to me about you got the players in the roster, but talk to me about the staff. What other coaches are there? Maybe what other support staff are in the athletic department that are helping out with the team and are involved?
Yeah, so our assistant coach, Elizabeth Burns, is a former player of mine. I've been lucky enough to only hire assistants that have played for me, which I think is huge just because I mean, obviously they know the competition here and they know me. So, um, but I'm getting a little older now. I'm pushing 40, so she's in her mid 20s. So she's a great a different bond with them, I guess, um, and someone that I think can relate to them a little bit more than me sometimes on some certain topics. Um, so with her, and then we have our academic support. We have a student athlete, like I said, academic advisor to work with them particularly. And then we also have tutoring services, face to face and remote, that the college provides to all of our students in our academic center for excellence. So, and then our athletic trainer who's on campus as well. So we do have it's not a big staff by any means, but I think we make them successful as best as we can on and off the field.
No, that's fantastic. Well, what about you? How would you describe kind of your style of coaching and the style of play you want to play there?
I mean, I can be intense. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's a tradition of winning. I guess I would say. I mean, that's the biggest thing is just so they understand what our expectations are up front. From the recruit visit till the first day there at practice. We expect to be winning program here. We haven't been national champions or anything like that, but we've been in and out of the national rankings and things like that. So that's kind of where we want to be. But yeah, I mean, as far as style of play, and maybe a little more direct than some coaches. We like to emphasize our speed on the outsides and really let our athletes go to work. Give them space to attack, especially wide players, outside backs, that kind of thing. We like to really. It's an offensive minded style of play, I would say, for sure.
Okay. Well, it it is May, and I'm sure your kids may even be wrapped up for the school year at this point. But what does your spring or that non-traditional season look like? What are you guys doing then?
Oh, in the spring, yeah, we do. We train a couple days a week. Start off with when they come back from break, a lot of fitness center work, just strength, conditioning, that kind of thing. And then we transition into some small group practices. Kind of it's just one of those things to fit it in their schedule. In the off season, we got to kind of be creative with our time frame there. And then we did two small sided tournaments. We did a 8-on-8 tournament and a 7-on-7 tournament, which gives obviously us a chance to play, but also gives them exposure to different 4-year schools. The majority of the teams in those tournaments are 4-year programs, so gives us different people to play and kind of a more relaxed environment, and lets them get noticed as well by the 4-year schools. So that's kind of we do that through the end of April, and then yeah, this week is their finals week, and graduation is Friday. So we've pretty much wrapped up all the soccer until August when we start again in the fall.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the insights. I'm going to leave you with one last question, and that is if you had one piece of advice for anybody going through the recruiting process right now, what would that be?
To not limit yourself, be open, to different schools. I think, junior college, a lot of times, is kind of, people say it's the, kind of the backup option. But I think junior college, it gives people the opportunity to compete, and you really have to ask yourself the question. I mean, what are you looking for in a college soccer program? Are you looking to just to be on a team? Are you looking to be on a team where you can contribute? Um, and then obviously, I think the financial side of things. And then the other thing I would say is really, the field level sites, the NCSA, those are phenomenal ways to get yourself out there. I spend probably too much time on those sometimes. Um, but I mean, just use the technology that's available to you and market yourself to all different types of colleges till you find the one that's right for you.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it, Coach. Wish you the best of
Yeah,
luck rounding out that class, and hopefully you can be getting back into those top 25 rankings in the fall.
that's definitely the goal, and appreciate you having me on.
Take care.